The reason why you feel so overwhelmed is because you are measuring your life in days, not decades. You're overestimating how much you can get done in a day. You're underestimating how much you can get done in a year, how much you can get done in a decade. Because I guarantee if you take a step back and you think about your current situation, you really think about the things that you want to do with your life. You fast forward, let's say you're 20 years old, you fast forward 20 years to age 40. Do you really believe that you could not achieve your goal in 20 years? Do you really believe that? Because I guarantee you, if you woke up every morning, focused on your energy, did what you can, focusing on baby steps, doing one thing every day, I guarantee you that you will reach your goal. It's inevitable. How could you not? Because what happens is if you focus on consistency and you just wake up every single day and do one thing, it's like the compound effect. If you wake up and invest $1 every single day, over time, that turns into wealth, right? I can't remember off the top of my head. I would have to do the financing calculation for that, but that was one of the most important lessons that I learned in college, getting a degree in finance, is that not just money compounds, but anything you give energy to compounds over time. The challenge is, what I'll speak for myself, has been going after something for 6 months and then not feeling like I didn't make progress, and then taking a month back, wasting time, and then trying to pick it up again, or worse, starting something different. When in reality, you you really have to get your answer from being consistent with something. Yes, know when to quit. This is why it's impactful to reflect and, really ask yourself, is this my path? Do I feel like this is in alignment with me? And developing that self-awareness to know when to quit, because that is important, right? Not everything is for everyone. And maybe 6 months is the amount of time that it takes to get your answer, right? But make sure you get your answer. And I think that you can only get your answer when you are consistent, when you are really giving it a shot every day, doing those baby steps. Because outside of that, it's very easy to distract yourself, to get a week into something new, and then, allow a bad habit to creep in and self-sabotage, right? And it's okay if that happens. Just know when you are doing it. Have the self-awareness to know that I'm self-sabotaging right now. I personally self-sabotage the first half of my 20s, for sure. And it was a learning lesson, I think that it really helped me tune into my tendency to self-sabotage. And by self-sabotage, I mean, letting self-doubt get in the way, leaning into bad habits when I felt too uncomfortable. I would think that being uncomfortable was a sign of, honestly, it was just painful. Until I realized later in life that feeling uncomfortable is a good sign. It's actually good for you to feel discomfort. Feeling too uncomfortable can feel overwhelming. So I think it's better to focus on, okay, how can I step just a little bit into discomfort, but not to the point where I feel like just completely stopping everything. And this again is where self-awareness comes in. And that's also why doing baby steps is so important. Because if you try to make giant leaps all at once, you might feel defeated. And that's going to stop you from just showing up, doing your thing. And while it is important to go after something, build something from scratch, what you don't want to do is to approach that with neediness, with seeking validation. Because one thing that I learned is that don't go all in on something if you don't have money coming in. because this is going to put you in a place of neediness. And I guess a better example of this is if you really need to, find a part-time job or a full-time job, whatever works for you, to cover your lifestyle. And every other hour or little time pocket that you have to give towards a thing that you want to build for your future, do that instead of quitting everything, not having any money come in, and betting on yourself with this thing. I know that we can go both ways here. There are some people who are like, just go all in, right? However, the energy that you are going to feel when you hit that 1 month where you don't know you're going to pay rent, that's going to be mad stressful. And I promise you that the way you show up for the thing that you're trying to build organically is not going to be authentic. It's going to feel very stressful. You're going to self-sabotage because the pain of that discomfort is going to be way too much on you, way too much. So you have to find that middle ground where I have my security, and with every pocket of free time, I'm focusing on building something. You know, like stop watching Netflix, stop consuming content, stop wasting that free time. Because if you work a 9 to 5, let's say you have an hour commute, you get back home at 6 o'clock, you can at least work a good, I'll be generous, a good 2 hours every single night. If you apply something, let's say just 400 hours, being generous again, a year, you will make progress. Like, it's inevitable. And that's where the power of measuring your progress over a decade or a year in this case is so important. It might feel like giving it just 2 hours in a day isn't gonna really make progress. But again, going back to the compound effect, that 2 hours is gonna turn into something beautiful. If it doesn't, you'll find your answer, right? But you have to focus on consistency in order to really get that answer. And I feel like this is so important because, you know, when I was 20 years old, I thought that I was going to be extremely successful by age 25. And while I may not have had the financial goal or reached the financial goal that I had for myself, I am so proud of all the progress that I made internally. When I look back on who I was 9 years ago, I see a totally different human. I see a totally different kid who just had no clue what was in store for him. And for me personally, I value so much of the internal growth that I made over the years because it's gotten me to this point. It's gotten me to the point where I can talk about this in an organic way right now and hopefully making an impact on one person out there. Maybe it's you. Everything will lead you to your ultimate purpose as long as you avoid the self-sabotage, because the self-sabotage isn't going to lead you to your purpose. Unless in my case, I guess I'll argue with that for myself, because I think a lot of what I do with my work today is helping others overcome self-sabotage because I know it so well. Which is another point, that whatever you're going through, you're growing through. And that pain that you feel, that discomfort that you feel, hell, let's say you have a drug addiction and later in life you overcome it. And what that does is it positions you in a place to help other people in that situation, right? You know exactly what the symptoms are of that drug addiction, meaning that when somebody is really, 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 really struggling, you know exactly what they need to hear. And that is a beautiful thing. But it first takes the decision to just simply step out of your own way and to stop self-sabotaging and to just sit in the discomfort for a little bit. Push those negative toxic patterns to the side. Do your best to do it. And when you slip up, give yourself grace, because we're all human. Nobody's perfect. Even the person you look up to most, nobody's perfect. It's about developing that self-compassion with yourself to know that when I just focus on what I can control And I don't overvalue things that I can't control, such as results. Do what you can to get the best result. But when it doesn't meet your expectation, the last thing you need to do is self-destruct. Yes, be critical, but don't be subjective about it. Be objective about it. What didn't work here? What can we improve? I think you're overstepping the boundary whenever you're looking in the mirror and you're telling yourself things like, you're such a fuck up. Why can't you ever do anything right? Why does nothing ever working? Woe is me. Why, God? That is when you are not in self-alignment, because I guarantee if you had a kid, or if you do have a kid, you would not talk to your child that way. So why are you talking to yourself that way? What good is that doing? With every decision that you make throughout your day, ask yourself, what good is this doing? What good is this providing my future self with? That simple question alone can help you reverse some bad patterns, because then you can start to replace it with, what would my higher self really appreciate me doing right now? What would my future self look back on right now to this very moment and be thankful that I did? If you can answer that question and you continue to point your focus towards answering that question honestly and truthfully, you will eventually erase these bad habits. It's about building that self-awareness, just being real with yourself, almost being your own mentor, being your own father, being your own parent, being the person that you need in your life. So stop measuring your life in days and instead measure it in decades. Thank you for watching this video. Let's connect on Instagram if we haven't yet. My handle is @AshtonTJoe. And I want you to reach out to me. Let me know if you're personally struggling with this, because I'd love to offer support in any way that I can. And I just love connecting with you guys on a deeper level, because that's what I'm here to do. That's what my purpose is. And if you got this far, I really do appreciate you sitting with me and just hearing my story. And good luck. I think it's way too easy for ourselves to just get in our own way, to overcomplicate things. And life is so short. Life is so beautiful. You just got to remind yourself of what you're grateful for, to get you back in the energy that you need to make the next step, to really make progress, to really make that life that you are dreaming of. Because the only one stopping you from doing it is you. Much love, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.